Welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure.
I appreciate the time that you're taking out to speak with me. So let's just start out. I know you and I met at the Paleo International Council.
Yeah, there was great food there.
Yeah, great food. Yes. And you were gracious enough to agree to join me here on my talk show. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, okay, let's start out with where you're from.
I was born in Staten Island, just so that I could say that I'm a native New Yorker. But I actually, when I was 5 years old, we moved to New Jersey.
Okay.
And I don't like to talk about that much.
Yes, Staten Island, New Jersey.
Nobody wants to say, well, they're brag about being from New Jersey except for Joe Piscopo.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And what was that like?
It's actually, it wasn't bad because my father picked the specific town we were in because it was a 28-minute express ride from the train station in Metuchen, New Jersey to Penn Station.
Oh,
so we
nice.
were very close to the city.
Yeah.
Staten Island was a really terrible commute.
Right.
So I was in the city a lot and exposed to New York a great deal and there wasn't much television then. We had like 3 channels, but a lot of Broadway and culture. My mother made me do that stuff. Actually, I liked theater, but going to a museum was like a living hell for me back then. But we had to go to them a lot.
Right, that's the popular thing to do. I remember I did that too growing up. So, okay, growing up in New Jersey, you were born in Staten Island. What brought you into the entertainment industry?
You know, I was very shy. I was the shyest kid in my high school, which is hard to believe now. People don't believe me when I talk about this, but I couldn't say hello to somebody in the hall.
Yeah.
It would come out like in a squeak, like, especially girls. Then I was so shy, and then I learned that if I was funny, that people responded to me, and then I said funny, annoying, obnoxious things in classes. Most of the teachers really hated me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I was a class clown. I was too witty and sophisticated for my New Jersey school.
Yeah.
I got beat up a lot. Now, so I did use humor, but I will tell you, I didn't put this down in the questionnaire, which is really good, by the way, because it got me thinking about things.
Thank you.
So because we had the 28-minute express ride into Penn Station, I used to go to concerts all the time. In the 1970s, when I was growing up, was just a really seminal moment in music history, I think, a seminal decade.
Yeah.
You had great bands, and you could go to Madison Square Garden for $5 for a concert, for good seats. So I saw everybody. And I went to see Jethro Tull in concert one night, and they had this album called Thick as a Brick. And it was like a concept album, and they played the whole thing. And during the concert, there was a little table like this with a telephone on it, and it had a big light on it. So you were drawn to watching this table.
Yeah.
And at the end of the concert, it's really quiet, and the phone starts ringing, and it's ringing and ringing and ringing. And the lead singer, Ian Anderson, goes over to the table and he picks up the phone and he goes, "Hello," and then he looks up at the audience and he goes, "It's the end." And then the Madison Square Garden went to black, and I was like, wow, I want to be like in a business like this. I thought it was really cool.
It's cool, yeah.
And I liked music, but I didn't have any musical talent. I took piano lessons, I could sing, but I liked the collaborative effort that I saw musicians do, which led me to sketch comedy.
Okay, so then, yes, that leads me to my next question.
Yeah, I'm asking you questions, asked and answered.
Thank you for rolling me into it. So what was your first job in the industry? Like, what was it and how did you obtain it?
So long ago. You mean paying job? Like when I got into the Screen Actors Guild?
Well, I guess what was the first move that made you feel like this is something you can do as a career?
I did a show at the Village Gate called Top Bananas, and actually, who was in it? Oh boy, am I going to do? I have a senior moment here. I wasn't prepared for this. He did a really great, breakthrough movie for Robert.
I wish I could help you out.
Oh gosh. Anyway, we did a show there, and he was in a comedy group called The Kitchen Table, and he became really famous. He was in A Soldier's Tale. He did all these movies. He did the Hollywood Shuffle. Robert Townsend.
Oh, yes.
So we just bunch of different comedians did like sketch shows and stand-up comedy from the top of the Village Gate, which was a pretty cool place then.
Yeah.
And I was so unsophisticated, I was making fun of this musician all the time from stage, and he was very gracious about it, and then I came to find out it was McCoy Tyner, one of the greatest pianists probably ever in jazz. And so that was a fun thing, but we didn't get paid for that. But I got into SAG, and I got a part in the movie Ragtime. And it was really strange working with Milos Forman because he paid no attention to the people with the really big parts. And then like he would come over to me and go, "Could you run down the street and like wave and yell at Elizabeth McGovern was playing, and chase her and say this?" And so like I got an upgrade to having lines, and it was really cool. And we shot it in August, and I was wearing a wool suit from wardrobe with one of the an actual fake, one of those collars, like made of cardboard or whatever, and we were sweating and perspiring so much. We were shooting in Brooklyn somewhere at Fort Greene that everybody was dying, but it was a great experience, and I was like, oh wow, this is great. And I'm getting a paycheck, and I got SAG insurance. It was very nice.
So off that one movie, you were able to get your SAG card.
Yes.
That's amazing. And I have to see it again because...
Oh, I'm completely cut out of the movie.
Oh, were you cut out?
I ran into Jeff DeMunn at a party. I'm going to name drop a lot here. I went to see Mudbound because I want your listeners.
That's amazing.
It's a really good movie, and Jeff DeMunn was at the party. He played Houdini in Ragtime. He's completely cut out of the film. At the time, it was the most coveted role to get in the movie business. And the studio executives killed literally like an hour of the film, and it was the hour that I was in. But I still got paid, and I don't get residuals, but it was nice.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, because you think, did you go to a premiere or anything and realize that you weren't in it? No. Nah,
they didn't do much of that stuff then.
Yeah.
Now if you're like a production assistant, you get to walk down the red carpet. It was different then.
Yeah.
It was in the olden days.
Yeah.
When we just went to color film, it was a very exciting time.
Yeah, that's one of the things too. Do you have a preference, since you come from that time of film versus digital? Because I mean, film is just now beginning to become phased out, but at the same time, people still use it. So do you have a preference based on like your experience with this?
I think it's really great that we have digital technology now. I mean, I remember being limited doing television shows and doing comedy, and so you'd do a tape and you'd have A-roll, B-roll, C-roll, and then you'd have something finished and you'd be like 12 minutes into a 22-minute half-hour show and go, oh God, I'd really like to change that. But you've already lost like 8 generations, and it was just a different time. I mean, when my friend was a writer at Saturday Night Live, when they used to want to use like some stock footage, a piece of stock footage, a photograph, could cost thousands and thousands of dollars from the Bettman archives, and they would send it to you wrapped in cellophane. So if you broke the seal, then you had to pay for it. Otherwise, you put it on a light box and look at it.
Yeah.
And now you can just go on the internet and go, I need a picture of the Titanic. Okay,
and
click,
you can
click.
find it easily. Yeah, but the preservation, I think, is one of the issues that they're encountering now with digital versus film.
But I'm getting tangential, but I just think that digital is fantastic in the way you can edit, and you can edit sound, and you can be more creative. It just gives them more opportunity to do things. Especially with television rather than a movie, which now can be premised on, let's destroy New York. That'll be and then we'll figure out a script after that.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Okay, so in this career, so you started out in Ragtime. Now, what was the trajectory from there? Like, what was the next?
I had no plan, really. It's a serendipitous journey. I mean, I worked hard, tried to get an agent, did that.
And who were you first representing?
I don't even remember. Lots of different people that no longer are even in business. I'm 61 years old. They're all probably dead now. I know, I'm not dead. I think my best years are ahead of me. But I think, the funny thing about working in entertainment and media is you really don't know what could happen. And I think I auditioned for something and somebody said, you're very funny, but you're the wrong type. But we know, do you write? Because we know somebody who's looking for a rewrite on a screenplay.
Oh.
And I ended up doing a rewrite for somebody, or a joke polish.
Yeah.
And I ended up really rewriting the whole screenplay, but I only got paid for the joke polish. But, and so I kind of fell into that, and that was a fun experience.
Yeah.
So things can happen that way.
Right.
And they did.
And so what was your biggest success so far in your career? Like, what do you think has been the...
Has never been like the Super Bowl or anything. Yeah. I did a show for ABC, and you know, I met a guy named Phil Buth, who was a great guy. He was, I think, the vice president of programming there, late night programming.
And how did you meet him?
Through, amazingly, this is a great story, Roger Ailes.
Oh.
So Roger Ailes has passed away. Before he was the head of Fox. Roger Ailes actually started out doing not late night talk shows, but talk shows.
Yeah.
He had like I think he produced Merv Griffin or Mike Douglas, one of those shows. It was an afternoon talk show. Yeah. And he had, in fact, Richard Nixon was on the show. That's how he got into politics. Yeah. Roger Ailes told this story that he had two guests on the show, Nixon and a belly dancer. And so he decided, who am I going to hang out with? So he started talking with Nixon in the green room, and Nixon took a liking to him, and Ailes was like 26, and hired him to work on his political campaign. But anyway, I had this show that I had done. It won a bunch of awards. It won film festivals. It was called It's the Weekend. It was a comedy show. Okay. And I was sending it to everybody I could. And this was 1990. So I sent VHS copies out. And I sent them to everybody in this book called the Hollywood Creative Blue Book. Right. And Roger Ailes was at this, I guess it was a channel called America's Talking. And I sent it to him, and he called me. He goes, "This is a really funny show. ABC is looking for something like this. You could get a late night spot with this. Call Phil Buth at ABC." And I called him, and he said, "Yeah, send it over." And so I sent it to him, and then 2 days later I called, and his assistant said, "This is the worst show. I watch it. I'm never going to show it to Phil. He would hate it. It stinks." What? So I called Roger Ailes back, and he said, "Oh, don't listen to her. Just keep calling Phil Buth. He eats at lunch at his desk every day. When his assistant doesn't answer, he'll pick up." And that's exactly what happened. So he said, "Oh," Roger said, he goes, "All right, bring me another copy and I'll watch it right now." And I ran over to his office. I handed it to him while he was eating a corned beef sandwich at his desk. And then 2 days later, I had to deal with ABC. I mean, that made it sound easy. I'd sent out like 1,000 copies of the show, and it was a good show, but that's how it worked.
And how long did that run for? Like how long?
One day. No, it was a long. We taped this thing. It was done as a summer replacement show with ABC, and then it ran in various other owned and op. I don't understand the way local shows run, but they ran it on the East Coast as part of an experiment. Yeah. But it got me attention and notoriety and more work. So.
And that's the goal, right? Is to progress into other things. And so what was it able to develop into? What were the opportunities that you garnered from?
I met tons of people and, had other writing opportunities and jobs and got to do on-camera things and got to produce more stuff. Yeah. So, and it led me to work at World Wrestling Entertainment. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So what was that experience like?
Pretty crazy, but it was, there are good and bad aspects of everything, but to focus on the good of it is it wasn't even a public company then. This was in the late 90s, and Vince McMahon was like the king of his little fiefdom, and so you could do whatever you wanted. So, as opposed to like a company like ABC, where you'd have to go through channels and everything, like the very first day we were doing a Monday Night Raw. I mean, it was the #1 rated show on the USA Network, and I said to Vince, I have this idea, we could do this thing. William Shatner is the guest. He was like, "Okay, do it." Yeah. And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Do it." And, then like 3 hours later, it was on the air. So that was a very heady, fun thing to do. You come up with an idea, and a couple hours later, you're live, and the national audience is watching, what you put together. So it was fun.
Nice. Okay. So these are great success stories, but what has been the biggest challenge that you've encountered in your career?
Being out of work, staying in New York. I don't know. I think there would have been more opportunity for me in Los Angeles when I was younger, but my family was here. My wife was here. She had a better job than I did. And I like being in New York too. So, there are fun things. I mean, what I really have loved doing and I don't do enough of are voiceovers.
Yeah. Right, because you host a radio show. So that's... I guess kind of getting into that same mode.
I started out doing a lot of guest stuff on radio, but hosting is a different thing. But I've done some. I played a lemon once on a commercial. they did residuals, and I did a couple of voiceovers for Coen brother movies. And
oh, nice.
It's a lot of fun. I'd love to be able to do like a cartoon or something like The Simpsons. I have another story about that, but I did an Indian character. I'm so politically incorrect now. I'd probably get arrested for this, but in this TV show that I did, and this, to date myself, it was just when they were getting ready to cast The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And Sam Simon, who is no longer with us and is a comic genius, was one of the creators of The Simpsons, called me and said, "You did a really great Indian voice." And I was, "Oh, I'm doing this other show now." What little did I know, for ABC or something. And he was like, "Yeah, we're, Hank Azaria does the Apu voice, amongst others." So, and he's very good at it. But anyway, it was nice to know that at least I was thought about and considered for that.
Right.
And, I've always wanted to do a show like that. It's Simpsons is one of my favorites.
Right, and those opportunities are still out there. It's just
I hope
timing.
so.
Yeah, it's just timing, right? So so now you work as a radio host.
Yeah.
And how did you get into that? You're in partnership with Stribling. So how did you get into that?
I knew them. My family was in the real estate business. I had a real estate license. My sister worked there.
So you're just doing everything.
Pitched them. Well, my mother wouldn't pay for college unless I got a real estate license to hang in her agency in New Jersey when I was 18. It was horrible. I had to go to school in the summers and take like a class. It was it was better than me having to pay for college.
Right.
Thank you, Mom. And I pitched it to the Striblings, and Elizabeth Stribling and her daughter Elizabeth Ann run the company. They were very nice, and they were like, "Sure." And they, they were on one or two times, but they really just let us do what we wanted to do, and they were a great sponsor. And we also had some other, Benjamin Steakhouse and the Seafire Grill did an occasional commercial with us, and the Hunt and Fish Club. I came up with a great commercial for the Seafire Grill because Dr. Stephen Hawking eats there. So I said, this must be a good restaurant if the smartest man in the world eats here.
Yes, look at you. They must have loved that.
Yeah, they did. It was, they didn't. I got them so much business they didn't do commercials with us anymore.
Oh, nice. Well, yeah. And so in terms of the guests on this show, like how do you tailor that? I know you have political guests. You have a lot of authors and writers on the show. So what's your thought process when you have guests? Is it kind of tailored towards certain types of?
It's funny. I think I've come to find, to interview so many hundreds of people, I'd rather have a good chemistry and have somebody that can talk, not like I never shut up, and I'm not even letting you ask me questions, but somebody that will have something to say, as opposed to somebody who just has a big name but may just be a fair interview.
Yeah.
Or I'd read a book and somebody would be great, and then they didn't. Then after the show, they'd have all the great anecdotes. But sometimes you just don't know, which is why I think if you listen to a lot of radio, you have to have hosts that bring the same people back, because there's a comfort level and they know who's going to be good and what's going to be a good show. But serendipitously, you can end up with something really great that's a home run out of the ballpark. Not everything is going to be the best every time.
And so this is I guess tailored toward actors, directors, other people in the industry. So what are your thoughts in terms of advice? Because there are a lot of people who would like to have opportunities to be on a show, something like yours, or to meet different types of people and to network. So what would be your piece of advice to them if someone's looking to get themselves out there, to promote their work, and to, I guess, just to get a bit of a name for themselves?
I would have, like, the mistake I made when I was younger was I was not social enough. Like the way you and I met, I think was natural. It wasn't contrived. You were polite without being pushy or aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm being serious. And it's like a lot of millennials now that I'll really hate will be like, they know everything, they're smarter than everybody else, and it's tone and attitude in anything you do, and so I think there's tons of opportunity now. And what I was saying to you in the green room before was, all anybody could say is no anyway, as long as you do it and handle it right. And I still find that now. It's really weird. I've asked friends to be on my radio show by email, and they don't even respond.
Right.
And then, I'll contact Tony Robbins, and 2 days later he's in the studio. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's as big a name as you're going to get, and it was one of my best shows, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's such a.
But I met Mike Sargent, who he and I are doing a show together now. We met at the screening of Mudbound.
Right.
And we were walking out together, my ex-wife, Mike and I, and his producer, and there was an after party, and we started talking, we really hit it off, and then he was on my show like a week later.
Yeah.
Now we're taping podcasts together at the Russian Tea Room. So,
right, so that's going to be my follow-up question. So what do you have happening right now? I know this is a new endeavor you guys are.
A new show called Tina Movie.
Tina Movie.
Because it's at the Russian Tea Room.
Yeah.
And we sit in the booth in the back. And our first guest so far on the first show was John Ridley, who won an Academy Award for writing 12 Years a Slave. He also directed it. He also wrote Undercover Brother, which is a wildly popular cult comedy.
Range.
Yeah, he's got great range. He's a really smart, intellectual guy, and he's got a new movie out called Let It Fall about the LA riots after the Rodney King beatings. And so, they beat him a lot. And so he's, that was a really good get, and we hit it off so well with him. We taped for like an hour and a half, and we had to cut it down to 28 minutes. But he was great.
That's so nice. So do you have any other endeavors right now that you're working on?
Working on a bunch of different ideas for TV shows. That's the other thing. I think you need to have a package and a slate, because you could have the greatest idea in the world, but it's not up to you if it gets chosen. So I'm working with a couple of other producers, and we have like a slate of a few things. We have our own reality shows, but anti-reality shows. We have one called Fighting Back about women who are boxers and mixed martial artists and have had various struggles in their lives. One of them was a heroin addict, and she's recovered. We have a single mom who'd been raped and abused, and she's a fighter, and they're all making it in their life. It's not much about the actual physical fighting they do, but about the emotional lives that they lead and how they make it through life, and that's a good story. And another one we're pitching called Sky High, about people who fly in private jets, because there's a lot of funny stories that happen at these private airports.
Really? I wouldn't know.
What else have we got on the slate? Yeah, well, I fly in my plane. We don't have any stories.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? Got a couple of other things going on. I think it's good to have as many creative endeavors out there without spreading yourself too thin.
Right. Okay. And you also, I know you're an advocate for diabetes.
Yes.
You have a lot of writing that you do on that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Just to
1/3 of our adult population right now in the United States is obese.
Yeah.
And I fell into that category at one time in my life, and it happened steadily over a few years. You gain 10, 12, 15 pounds a year, and all of a sudden, in 4 years, you could be 50 pounds overweight and obese and in very bad health. And so, and as a result of it, I ended up, not just because of being overweight, it was kind of a combination of the two. I'm type 2 diabetic, and so I keep it in check and I manage it and I try to help others, and I've worked in conjunction with the American Diabetes Association, and I've done some videos with Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. So and I guess I call myself a diabetes advocate or obesity ambassador. I'm always there to help and to act as a spokesperson for whoever may want to work with me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's informative, because there's a lot of information out there that people just don't know. So if you don't know, there's nothing you can do about it. So
Reverend Run for Run DMC is a diabetes ambassador.
Oh, really?
He's got it too. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's one of those things where you would never know. It's not one of those things that people even
I think people probably are concerned about it in their lives, because they're like, gee, I don't know, maybe I can get, people won't want to hire me if they think I'm a diabetic or something. But, if it's in check, I think I'm healthier than a lot of other people my age who don't have a problem, because all I do is think about my blood sugar and my health, and
you're aware
I'm a very neurotic Jewish man, so I worry about these things.
Yeah, you're cognizant, you're aware, and that's step one. Well, thank you so much.
Let's keep going.
I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
We can catch your work on, you're a commentator on Fox.
Go to www.robtaub.com or follow me on Twitter at RobMTaub.
All the social media. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for letting me come on.